All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day, the first hour. Well, good morning to you, Dennis. I hope you've survived that wicked sell-off we've had in the markets, but we're getting a nice bounce off the close here, currently trading at 1366.50.
Joel, getting a lot of the losses that we had yesterday back here this morning, and I got to remember that fair value is actually down a few more bucks too, so we're actually up about 12 on the overall market here. So nice bounce back day here this morning. I don't know if it's much more than a bounce back day, but definitely giving you a chance to get out of some longs maybe.
As I mentioned, the overnight low currently stands at 1357.50. Did not even touch settlement. Rallied up to 1369.50. That is just below Monday's low at 1371.75. So I think that 1370 area, Dennis, is going to be very critical for us to get above and hold today and close above. In order to keep this little dead cat pounds going, we need to maintain 1364. Moving on to the market movers, Dennis. Alcoa. Can Alcoa wait to get better earnings?
Man, Alcoa, Joel, really popped after hours there. Kind of hanging out in the same spot as it was after hours, $9.85. Just a little bit below that $10 area. I don't know what the high in the after hours, maybe Joel can get you that in a second, but I do see some significant size at $10. You know what that means? Those high frequency guys, they like to smell that stuff out, and they'll probably be selling early in the 9.95 area, somewhere in there. But remember, it's going to be big volume on Alcoa, so if it takes out that $10, then it might be able to move higher. But right off the hop, I think 10 might put a lid on it, Joel.
You're exactly right, Dennis. I hit 994 in the pre-market. The highs have been steadily coming down from that. That $10 is going to be a major level. We did take out that 950 level yesterday. We did get down to 931. The market just being weak, and then you're getting a bounce here. But Dennis, just looking at this chart overall, I think this stock is just dead money. I mean, it hit its high back in '07. It's been coming down. It's been basically trading in a 950 range to 1050 here for quite a while. I mean, it's just aluminum company. I mean, if there's a company that's going to lead us, on their greener pastures, it's not going to be Alcoa.
I mean, I just brought up that chart from the last 7 years here, Joel, going back just to look at the high that you're talking about that it hit in '07. You're exactly right, when it was topping out at $48.77. Obviously, we had this huge sell-off in the '08 and '09 financial crisis. Stocks never really come back. So, I think, from a long-term perspective, you're right. It's been dead money for 6-7 years. Not even dead money. It's been losing at 70 or 80% for 6 or 7 years. So, man, just not been a good stock at all. So that kind of puts it in perspective. Even though you're getting a nice 6% lift here today, man, people have bought at 35 or 40 bucks, 5 years ago, still aren't too happy with the stock.
I mean, I know CNBC gets Klaus Klonfeld to, come on the show and talk about it, but, I mean, it's all tied to China and everything. I just think for investors that are, looking for this thing to even go back to 11 bucks are going to have a very, very long wait. Moving on to some other earnings-related news, Chevron's getting a nice pop. This thing is falling off a cliff since making an all-time high a few weeks ago above 112. We snuck under 102 yesterday, got to 101.45. Lo and behold, close a nickel off the high of the day, Dennis, and then they come out with some good news.
Yeah, they came out with their quarterly update there, and they were saying that they think the next quarter is going to be quite a bit better than the last quarter. So that was giving the stock a lift after hours. Joel helping to drive the market up a little bit more as well. Trading 102.61, so not up, huge, but up, pretty significantly here. Obviously, yeah, a 2-day high ago we had that 104.08, but real resistance is up here at this 105, where we had this triple bottom from before. So I think if it was to really go into rally mode, we're a long ways away from there, but saying the next day or two, there's major resistance up in that 105.
Yeah, I think looking at the pre-market high at 103.19, that's 20 cents below Tuesday's high at 103.38. Dennis, I think it's going to have a hard time getting through that level today.
Yeah, I'd agree, Joel. I think the trend's down here, and I think rallies probably should be sold on this one.
Okay, ExxonMobil, to stick with the oil theme here, stock that net, even though the S&P's made a new high over the July high by over 80 handles, here's a stock that didn't even make a new 52-week high, couldn't even sniff 88, got up to 87.94. Now the sellers have stepped in. We've had a wicked 6-day sell-off here, right into support at the 82 level. We're getting a 73-cent bounce here in the pre-market. I'm not sure I'm a believer in this one. I'd say if we don't hold 82.59 in ExxonMobil, we're going right back down.
This is a huge breakdown. This whole 84 area we talked about for a few days. It kind of held 83.66 the day before. Complete breakdown yesterday through all those lows that it made in mid-February. So I'd expect all that area to be resistance here now. Say 83.19. It was the one low there, all the way to this 83.35 low. So that whole area I think is going to give you some decent resistance. We're just slightly below that right now in the pre-market at 82.92. But again, I think rallies need to be sold on this one too.
All right, and bringing up the granddaddy of them all, Apple Computer, bust to a new all-time high yesterday, 644. Got up there just long enough for CNBC to mark it as having his second biggest market cap ever. What was it, over 600? Yeah, something like that. Really, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I got a real good level to look at, 632.81. Try and stay long above that level. Below that level, Dennis, we could be in trouble. And just on a closing note here with Apple, Dennis, we're starting to get a formation here of major support here at the 625 area. Long-term players, move your stop up to that 625 area, because I think the next time down to that level is going to be whoosh, and we're going to take it out.
You know, eventually, like we've been saying, this thing's going to have a real bad day, you know, and it had a bad 20 minutes there, Joel, yesterday. After this thing hit 644, it started drifting down, but around 11:30 it was at 641, and by 12:15 it was at 626. So you dropped $15 in like 15 minutes there. So you can see how quickly this thing can get ugly. It bounced up, and obviously today with the broad market, it's getting a nice rally. I mean, 644. If you want to try a short, we've tried, you know how many times you try shorts on this. You know, you do have a point now. It made a new high, 644, the big $600 billion market cap. We're bounced back. We're $7 or $8 away from there right now. But, you know, if it gets into that area, the 638 to 639, if you risk $5, if it makes new highs, I think you can't be short it. But, you know, if it holds there, maybe you try a lower risk short. But you got to get out when this thing makes new highs, because we know what happens. It makes new highs. New highs beget newer highs.
Yeah, 637. If you really are, a brave person, you're willing to risk 7 points up to the all-time high. 637 seems to be putting a cap on it in the pre-market. Dennis, a little bit of unusual day yesterday. Market selling off. A lot of times you get a little boost from the defensive stocks, but the defensive stocks weren't so defensive yesterday.
No, they weren't, Joel. You had stocks like Coke that were just completely breaking down. I mean, Coke had a terrible open, basically gap down. I can just bring up the one-day chart for you, kind of show you. We were talking about it yesterday on our on the show on our 10:30 update. But you know, we broke down, yes, gap down, really fell off, then came back up, still couldn't fill that gap, and then just started following through with the broad market. So Coke, I think, was down more than 70 cents, which is a big down day for a stock like Coke. Other defensive names too, Joel, were weak overall. Even our Johnson & Johnson got to the lower end of that range. I mean, here, the stock, we've been talking about channelingstocks.com on this thing. Again, here we are. You know, 6 sessions ago, we were right up at the high of the range. Now, and this is the last 4-month range, and in 6 sessions, we're right at the low of the range. So, I mean, this is where support has been, the 64.20 area. It's getting a little bit of lift here in the pre-market with the overall market. But, you know, if you're looking for a low risk buy, this whole 64 to 64.25 area is probably that. It starts to take out 64. I probably wouldn't want to be long it, though.
Looking at the Coca-Cola, Dennis, it's had, 7 of that last highs have been lower highs. It's come right down to the 72 level. Last or a few weeks ago, we were talking about all the institutional size from 73 to 74. I guess the longer term HFT guys that choking on that stock puked it out. We've had a big sell off here. I certainly wouldn't buy here at 72.61, trading up 59 cents in the pre-market. Instead, I would probably look to short it here. It's running right into yesterday's high. That's a big move. Maybe the specialists, took home a big chunk of stock on the close, buying, and will be looking to get out. Next level above that is 73.11, but this sure looks like a dead cat bounce in Coca-Cola.
I mean, this whole market, if you want to really talk about dead cat bounces, looks like what it was. When you sell off that wickedly and you get it all back one day, I don't know how you can call it really anything else. I know we had good Alcoa numbers and Europe strong, which we'll get to in a minute, but just makes you think, like, if you're long stocks and you were underwater here, it's a pretty decent opportunity the market's giving you to lighten up.
Okay, Dennis, moving on to the European banks, seem to be the driver this morning. They're moving a couple percentages each way overnight.
Yeah, Joel, we got stocks like Barclays that are up 70 cents. So basically, you got BCS here looking at the chart. Yesterday had a terrible day. Opened up 1354, kind of topped out 1363, straight down to 1301. Well, lo and behold, one day it gets it all back. It's trading 1374 here, so we're bouncing right off that 13 area. Just going ahead, I know I'll let you go back to these in a second, Joel, but Deutsche Bank, same thing. Terrible day yesterday, getting back the entire range this morning and more. So wow, these things are really bouncing here too, and this is a big driver. I think we had the Alcoa that pushed the SPOOs up 3 or 4 points there after hours. Chevron helped it maybe for another buck or two, but now for this extra 4 or 5 points, it's definitely European banks. They're just so strong here this morning. That's probably going to be a driver in your U.S. financials as well.
Getting a nice bounce off the $13 level, the 13 teens or actually 13.30 held up in January, got below there. I mean, Dennis, keep in mind, this stock traded 16.41 at the end of March. It sold off, $3.50, in a matter of 10, 12 trading sessions. So you are getting a bounce here. I imagine $14, you're going to run into a lot of resistance there. You had 13.86 and 14.04. So I imagine 14 is going to be major resistance. Deutsche Bank, kind of a similar situation. It came down very hard. This stock was actually trading above $52 at the end of March. Comes down yesterday, stops just short of support at 43.37. Getting a nice bounce in the pre-market. If they could continue, I'd expect you to find good resistance up at 46.36.
That's really the driver here, and it is driving up your U.S. financials too as well, Joel. I got a stock like Citigroup here that's trading up 60 cents. J.P. Morgan's trading up pretty substantially, up another 45 cents, and even Bank of America. We've been talking about Bank of America quite a bit. It had a real breakdown day yesterday, where it's hanging around the 9 and boom, falls 50 cents. We talked about this for quite some time, that this 8 to 10 move was ridiculous. Had the triple top. It's slowly been filling that move, and we said if it starts to break below 9, there's not a lot in there, because in 3 sessions it went from 8 to 9.20. And now, obviously, we said if it starts to get below 9, when they go up that quickly, they can go down that quickly, and that's exactly what we've seen yesterday. Boom, 50 cents down at 8.54. Getting a bounce here again, but man, you got to think there's going to be a host of resistance in that $9 area if we're ever to get up another 20 cents from here. But I don't know if it even gets up that high. I think the trend is still down here. Wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of weeks if we did get back down to that $8 area. So I think in that Bank of America, maybe this is a rally to sell too, Joel. What do you think?
It did come down, and kind of 850 area was supporting this. You did have a gap up. You had an 850 close, an 850 high on March 13th. Then you had the low the following day, the 14th, at 856. Came down smack dab, filled that gap here, right 850 on the nose as the low. You're getting a bounce in the pre-market here. Like I said, Dennis, you got to look for some follow-through with the stock already being up 21 cents. Have to keep an eye on 877, Dennis. That's where it's been topping out in the pre-market. If it can tack on anything else, I expect it will be a lot of resistance at 985, and then there'll be a great 885. Right?
I bet there's resistance at 985 too, though, Joel.
Yeah, there too. But $9 should be a tough level to get through as well.
What about the Citigroup? That one's a similar chart. It had a terrible day yesterday, getting a lot of those losses back here this morning. I'm just looking, and 32 was really where I kind of thought it was going. Didn't quite get to there yesterday. Only got down to 32.70. I still think it may eventually be going to that 32 area, but nothing goes straight down sometimes, so you get these bounces here that sometimes offer decent opportunities to sell. What do you think, Joel?
I think, even though the double top is at 34.27 and 34.40, I thought it's still nowhere near that. I bet you're going to get a mound of sellers at 34, a nice even number like that. I think even 33.50 now, it seems to be a quiet seller out there in the pre-market. So I think it needs to get above the 33.50, hold that, and then make a run at the 34. And if it absolutely just has a monster day, we'll test that 34.40 level.
We do have a few market movers here, Joel. One I wanted to talk about was Travelzoo. This thing is flying this morning. A company coming out, Reuters article saying the company is putting itself for sale. It's not saying this is an acquirer, it's just saying that the company is for sale, but wow, it's up 30% here in the pre-market. TZOO is a symbol on that one, Joel. What do you think of Travelzoo?
Well, they look like they're a little late to the game here, Dennis. I'm looking at the longer-term chart, and back in its heyday, it was hit 103.80, and now it comes down and actually just skimmed the October lows here, Dennis. 2068 was a low that we had back in October. It came down to that area recently, 2081. It's getting a bounce here. I guess the only thing you can look at is in the pre-market. Someone seems to think that no one's going to acquire it over 28.15. Big seller stepping in here at 28. That corresponds nicely with the highs back in February at 27.92. But Dennis, who's going to buy this company?
That's what I'm saying too. I actually put that on the market movers. I mean, just because a company's for sale doesn't mean they're going to be a buyer. There was another people saying maybe Google, maybe somebody comes around, but these companies, when your whole marketing strategy is just to sell yourself, that doesn't always work that well, Joel. I mean, it's sometimes better to try to, market your own products as opposed to just hoping to get acquired by somebody. But, anytime this market loves, acquisitions. So a company says it's for sale, it usually does get a lift. I think though, I don't know if I'd want to be buying this stock here just on, the possibility that they might find somebody to buy it.
I mean, doesn't Google already have Zagat's?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, this is such a crowded space. You have Expedia, you have Priceline, you have Travelocity.
Yeah.
I remember I used to fly Cheapo Air. I don't know if that's still around. But it's just a crowded space here, and I don't see anybody really acquiring this company that it's not a new service. They're not offering anything.
Well, remember the search engines, Joel, in the late 90s? You had all these search engines coming out, Lycos and Excite and all these other different search engines, and Yahoo was there. And at the end of the day, really, Google was the only one that really, was the real gunner that survived. And all those other ones, I think Excite became Excite at Home or something, and it ended up going out of business too. So, not saying the Travelzoo is going out of business, but it's competitive. And usually there's only one or two that remain at the end of the day. So if this doesn't get acquired here, it doesn't bode well for the overall company probably. So just thinking back to those 90s with those search engines, obviously not everybody can survive in a space like this. So I think you make a great point. Very competitive, and sometimes these rallies like this give you a good opportunity to lighten up if you were banking on more of a business model here, and and rumors sometimes work out, and sometimes maybe it does get acquired and maybe they do get a premium, but it may not too, so keep that in mind.
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Joel?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to move on, but go ahead.
I was say if something doesn't come out soon on this thing's going right back down.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get at. That's pretty much the bottom line here, Joel. CSC Computer Sciences Corporation. This stock came out, lowered guidance after the bell. Was trading down around 27.5. It's a lot weaker this morning. I have a couple prints going off here. I think this is a little overdone at 26.31. But check out this chart, Joel. This thing gapped up in February from 20 from that low there, 26.39. And basically got all the way up here to 30. I don't even remember what the news was on that. 33.50. I remember we talked about it, but I can't remember. Maybe you remember. But and then we hung out there for a few weeks, slowly drifting down, slowly drifting down, slowly drifting down. So this gap and go has almost completely filled itself now. 4 months later, we had a couple trades in the pre-market at 26.31 area. I don't know if it gets that low there today or not, but this whole $26 is kind of where it broke out from originally. So maybe you get some support there, but not a good for shareholders that has a big, nice move and it gives it all back.
Do you think anybody had any inkling that this news was coming out, Dennis? I mean, just looking at the chart.
Well, yeah, I know we've been drifting down, and boom, we lower guidance. So, yeah. Well, there's always, you don't know if it's insider selling or
it's not what you know, it's who you know, Dennis. And 26 seems to be a big number in this. I'm looking at the volume in the pre-market. I mean, someone got a decent print off around, in the 27s. But this last 70 cents just looks like, some day trader that, took it home that was just praying or something, just puked it out, or his clearing firm got him out. I would look at this $26 level, even though it did slice below that back in January. Below 26, I'm looking at this 25.77 low. 25.77 and 25.41 would be the first stopping point if 26 doesn't hold.
One other one here for you, Joel. OI, which is Owens, Illinois. The stock came out and it actually raised guidance after hours. And this stock actually was trading up almost to $24 after hours. It's 23.52 right now. Not a lot of volume, but it's bid there, and it looks like it's going to probably open somewhere between that 23.50 and 24 area. Looking at the chart here, if the stock really goes into rally mode, sometimes these are thinner stocks, so these things, if they get a little bit of a buyer in there, can sometimes really move. That $25 is just like I was saying, the Great Wall of China on the Market Movers show, because I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs from early February and mid-February back then. Tried it again in mid-March, didn't quite get there, 24.87. But those high frequency guys, smell out levels like that. If that thing gets anywhere into the mid 24s, I would think, it's going to be met with a host of sellers. What do you think, Joel?
Well, you think people are just drinking more wine, beer, and spirits here or something? And I mean, that's what they do, basically. No volume associated with this move, Dennis. So yeah. I would say buyer beware on this open. 22 was just a great level. I look at 24 as the same level on the upside. Take a look at 24.20. That was a high on March 27th. And then, Dennis, I see those levels above that, 24.60. But, here's a bounce, a range-bound stock. You're getting a good part of the range just in basically, one print. So I'm sure some people will be looking to sell some stock at this $24 level because there's absolutely no volume associated with this move.
That's all I've really got for you here on the Market Movers. Obviously, financials and your oil stocks are getting a pretty decent lift here today. Any closing thoughts there, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had as much confidence in this 1370 level as I did back on the 1400 level that we preached about for a couple weeks. But that Globex high 1369.50 up to Monday's low 1371.75. It's where the market broke down from yesterday. It's going to loom large here early in the session. You get above there, then all the buy the dip pundits on CNBC were right, and the correction's over. But really expect some resistance in this 1370 area. So that's our market outlook for this morning, folks, and we'll be back with you at 10:30.